Well, now, for more on the inquest into ANC leader Inkosi Albert Luthuli's death, we're joined in studio by SABC News reporter Canny Maphanga, who'll provide details on the reopening of the case and its significance. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
How does the reopening of these inquests, change South Africa's reconciliation process, or do they?
Well, it is critical to this reconciliation project and bringing healing to the loved ones, to a lot of these families that lost key figures during that struggle for liberation. Although this one comes 30 years after the fact of these cases being opened and investigated by the TRC. It is a welcomed intervention by the families as well as the ANC that will now get the actual facts behind the circumstances surrounding Chief Luthuli's passing that will provide a clearer picture to the family, as the only inquest that stands as we speak today is the 1967 inquest that was conducted under the apartheid regime, which the family remains skeptical of, as it found no criminal liability against the South African Railways or any individual regarding that particular passing.
Well, how significant is the new evidence in challenging the original findings?
Well, we know that the NPA, in its opening statement this morning, after the court subsequently granted the reopening of this inquest, we know that they were underway now, and they've called the first witness, which is a sergeant from the Hawks, who would have sat in the 2019 Luthuli investigation, which would have started the process that leads up to today. The NPA is charging that the finding of the original inquest was a collusion between the key figures that presided over that particular inquest at the time. Remember, they found no criminal liability. And that, of course, is informed by the sentiments of the day. We know it was an apartheid regime. We know that there was an understanding that there needed to be a suppression of these key figures to minimize the resistance against the apartheid regime. So it's not unusual to see the findings of any inquest that took place during that particular period to be contested in public. Now, what the NPA is charging is that they have different evidence which will point to different mathematical and scientific findings. What is helpful in the case of Chief Luthuli is that the reports, or official reports in quotations that were stated, was that he was struck by a goods train near Stanger in KwaZulu-Natal. Now, we know the NPA is planning to bring plus minus 27 witnesses to speak to this particular fact. That will include the operator of the train. It will include evidence, locomotive expert evidence that could give you an understanding as to if someone was struck by a train, what exactly the effects would be scientifically to that particular person. And that kind of evidence will also include an inspection in loco, which means that they will actually go and visit the site of that particular train, and it'll give the court a better understanding of the environment upon which that incident took place. All this will point to the kind of scientific and mathematical evidence that the family wants to rely on and get in order to get the true events behind the passing of Chief Albert Luthuli. Of course, this is something that is important to correct the history around such a prominent anti-apartheid activist.
For sure.
And of course, it brings not only restorative justice to the people of South Africa, but to the Luthuli family as a whole.
Why do these types of cases take so long to be resolved?
It truly is, Juliet, a miscarriage of justice. We know that following the, the euphoria of 1994, a lot of these cases just fell down the wayside, and there wasn't a, dare I say, political will to ensure that these cases were brought to book and that justice was dispensed to those particular families. And we're now seeing when there is a particular focus on the NPA that there is now the reopening of these inquests. Now, you could reach your own conclusion as to why is it only happening now, decades after the family has been calling for answers. This isn't the only family that is affected by these kind of tragic passings. But there are many families, even families of those individuals who are not prominent figures, that are still seeking answers, because we know the kind of world of hurt that was unleashed by the apartheid regime is that a lot of these figures that fought in the liberation struggle went and disappeared without a trace. They were killed or died in suspicious circumstances, and to date the families weren't able to get that type of closure and healing, as the facts surrounding their passing have not been fully articulated before a court. So this is an opportunity, at least in the case of Chief Luthuli, to get the true facts behind his untimely passing in 1967.
Quickly, if we could just squeeze in one more answer. Could these inquests set a precedent for other apartheid-era cases?
Well, inquests are not criminal trials. They are fact-finding inquiries. The recommendations that follow perhaps could shed some more light on what could happen in other cases of this nature. It's possible that they could make recommendations which inform the NPA to go further than finding the answers, but actually seeking full justice in this particular matter. But we'll wait to see how this particular inquest plays out in the KZN High Court in Pietermaritzburg.
Thanks so much. Canny Maphanga, SABC reporter, chatting to us there about that Albert Luthuli's death case, the inquest.